G'day, Bomber fans. Well, it's finally happening. I've got the magnificent Fiona from Bomber Banter on the channel. We are going to be having a good long chat today about the pre-season. We're going to be talking about how the standards have shifted in a positive way. We're going to be talking about individuals and highlighting who we've liked the look of. I've got her on the channel because she really is just about the best track watcher I know. So go subscribe to her channel, Bomber Banter. She's going to be posting a few more videos about the pre-season. She's already posted some as well, so go check those out. Yeah, I'd be listening to her, not me, when it comes to this sort of stuff. She gets out to pretty much every training session. I think she really is not only just a smart and loyal fan, but really just dedicated to putting out good content. So go join the community over there. It's a really fun one. Let's get into the video. Hello, Fiona. How are you going today?
Hey Felix, thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. It's a nice hot one here in Melbourne, so the weather is certainly heating up come to summer. How about you? How you doing?
Yes, it's a nice hot one here in Adelaide too. It is very warm across the country. Thank you for joining me today, making your Everything Essendon debut.
So grateful. I mean, it's about time. You have been a regular on Bomber Banter, so I absolutely owe you back, but it's also just a pleasure to spend some time with you and your viewers. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I wish I had a Guernsey to hand to you. The 16th debutant for the season for the Bombers.
Yes, symbolic. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, what we're going to be doing today, as you would know, is chatting about training because I've been to two training sessions in my life, and they've both been this year. So, and I don't know, you've probably lost count by now, the amount of sessions you've been to, not only over the years, but this season alone. You're a regular track watcher, one of the big, the well-known track watchers in the Essendon community. So I thought I'd get you on the channel to chat about training. One of the experts in the field.
Yeah, look, I mean, at this stage, my car is driving itself to the hangar a couple of times a week. Pretty much, I've been trying to go to the main sessions of the week, which were historically Monday, Friday, and then they would have a bit more of a lower key, lighter session on the Wednesday where they would predominantly do skills and drills, but no match sim. So so it's been about a 5 week block, I would say. The first few weeks where I reckon they were just on the runway and they just slowly upped the intensity to about 70%, I reckon. And then in the last couple of weeks, that's easily jumped to about 85%, which is that's very deliberate because you still want a little bit of a pocket to then go to that next level come December. So obviously you've spoken to your viewers and Essendon community about Matt Innes and his impact on this club. But yeah, there's been an absolute glow up in terms of training and standards, intensity, volume, pretty much everything
Yeah.
surrounding high performance, what a high performance program should look like. Well, it does look like that now. And,
Okay.
a lot of people will say, well, why didn't it look like that in the first place? I
Yeah.
don't have those answers. Do you?
No, no. Well, it's interesting because I've I obviously haven't seen a training session under Sean Murphy, but I've heard some bits and pieces and some facts and figures about what training looked like this year compared to last year. You would have heard that the three highest run sessions in terms of gut running, high speed running over the last, I think it was 3 or 4 years, were all conducted in the last fortnight. I think it was something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
quite close together. From the eye test, because I'm guessing you saw a few sessions under Sean Murphy as well. From the eye test, the difference, is it as noticeable as we're making it out to be?
Yeah, there's definitely no. I think probably I mean, we're in a, a time of evolution for the club. There's been some huge dramatic changes in terms of, the administration and the,
Yeah.
president and all of that. So we are making laying some really solid foundations. And that naturally has, projected a positivity amongst the Essendon fandom. And that's wonderful because it's galvanized the fan base. And to be honest, it's just been a relief to the soul, because it was hard going there for a while and we didn't have a lot of hope. So I get that. There has been a lot of positivity around training and what we're
Yeah.
seeing. I probably sit somewhere still in the middle,
Okay.
either because I'm a perfectionist or because I'm just trying to not get too ahead of myself. But where I don't sit in the middle, where I very much sit on the positive side of things, is that the standards have just absolutely have gone to the next level, the next
Yeah.
gear, and we're still only at fourth gear. And I know that for a fact because I was lucky enough to have a chat with Matt Innes. We haven't even hit top gear, and it's already very noticeable.
Yeah.
So that definitely has been an improvement. You would be aware of this, but sessions used to run up to three to 3.5 hours. Lots of walking in between drills, lots
Yep.
of stuffing around, quite frankly, for want of putting it a bit away. This year, there is every single minute, and I'm quoting this from the man himself, that he has them running every minute. So drills are interrupted every minute to either sprint to one end of the ground, no matter where a player is standing, to do an interchange, to run around a cone. And so the idea of it is just high volume in very little time.
Yeah, and even for me, seeing the injured boys, I don't know if their work rate in previous years has been as intense as it is now. But Jordan Ridley before a pre-Christmas break, putting that much work in, off to the side with a minor hamstring injury. I think the philosophy around the injured players and not only just helping them recover, but making sure they're in a better spot post recovery. I think for me, without having seen previous years and previous administration, everything with Sean Murphy, but it does feel like it is intense, but intent with purpose. And I think there was one little tidbit that I got from being at the club recently, which is just it feels like a no-brainer decision to be making. But last year, in previous years, the boys had they would have gone into the gym, when they arrive at the club, have their team meeting after warming up, so sitting down after, pumping iron, and then going out and training. That's now changed, so it's the team meeting as they get in the morning, then gym when they've warmed, so they warm up and then train. It's something like that just feels like, no offense to previous administration, but it does feel like a decision that we could be making, and maybe there's more reasons behind this, but it does seem like Matt Ennis has come in and scrubbed things up a little bit and refined it to an area where we are looking like at least on the training track, like a proper club.
Yeah, and just to your point on the rehab injury guys, I went to the AGM last night. It's been a big year for the channel, and I've never been to an AGM, so I thought I'd take myself down there. And the part that I walked away and I thought, gosh, we are actually so incredibly lucky and fortunate that we haven't had more hiccups. Only Jordan Ridley, of the high risk guys I'm talking, have actually had a very minor setback.
Yeah.
Matt Innes came in 3, 4 months ago and he completely told the players to throw out their previous programs that they had been doing for 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
And he started from scratch and he built them individualized programs based on higher intensity, higher volumes for their time away from the club in their off-season breaks. So they were already training at a higher intensity in their off-season breaks. Then they come back and they start training at a higher intensity than they have before. And only one player actually has a setback. I don't think we're actually taking into consideration how huge that is and how good it is to see that most of their bodies have held up in this. Roby, he's had that back issue
Yeah.
for 4 months.
Mhm.
Ridley had a very, very minor hamstring setback. Innes told me if it was in games, if it was in season, it would have been 1 week, 2 at the max that he
Yeah.
missed. And he's a particularly sensitive guy to uh, when they change loads on him. So when he
Right.
deloads
Okay.
in an off season, his body goes into okay, so I'm done now. Your career's over. I can totally go into just sloth mode.
Yeah.
And so when he ramps up again and does a little bit, it kind of reacts. And then when he does a
Okay.
bit more, it reacts a bit more. So
Yeah.
they're trying to just work out his patterns for his body. So I think it's actually, yeah, quite remarkable that we're actually doing incredibly well, Felix, in
That,
terms of the.
Yeah, and it's funny because it doesn't feel like it when you get to training because you see Edwards, Hayes, Martin, all these guys off to the
Brian.
side, all
Yeah.
injuries that happened like pretty early last year for the most part.
Yeah.
You're right. The only real setback, aside from Roby, which again happened last or during season, and it's something that the club unfortunately wasn't able to pick up on because I don't think they're allowed to test
No.
the bodies before a draft year. But yeah, the only setback is Ridley, and it's a very minor one, which is yeah, you're right. It is great considering the amount of work that the injured guys have been doing. Like for me, when I've seen them, it doesn't seem like they're slowing down and taking things easy. It seems like everyone's going at a really hard, consistent pace throughout sessions, and it is a tough pace out there. Now you said you spoke to Matt Innes. I was at training just behind you. Saw the great man come up and say hello and then stay for about 10 minutes chatting to you. I
Yeah.
didn't hear any of the conversation, and you don't have to go into it too much because you might have your own stuff planned. But give some insight into Matt Innes as a person and as a conductor of training sessions.
Yeah, I do have a video coming out on that in the
Nice.
next couple of days. So
Awesome.
I took as many notes as I could straight after he walked away, so I didn't forget what he said. But he was so generous with his time, and it was so, his temperament. He's got an edge when he's out there orchestrating training, which is what you want. That's fantastic. But when he came over and had a chat, he was just a completely different demeanor, and it was wonderful. So generous with his time and the information he shared with me. So as you can imagine, I can't share
Yeah.
I can't share a lot of the specifics because he was very specific with me, and gave me numbers and how they're kind of managing uh, training. But it was just fascinating to hear how, uh, well, firstly, they're watching the high risk guys like a hawk.
Mhm.
They are monitoring them to every step they take, they are monitored, and
Yeah.
they have a plan in place that's so structured. So over the last 5 weeks, you'll often have seen Langford do 40% one day and then run laps for the rest of the day. The
Okay.
next day, you'll see him do 80% of training and then won't do the extra amount of work. In the past, you could watch that and think, oh, shit, he's redone his injury. And the media jumped onto that and thought, oh, he's had a setback. Absolutely not. They couldn't be more wrong when it comes to Parish, Langford, Reed. They have all just been managed to the nth degree, their loads. So that they don't carry the fatigue of a current session into the next session, because
Yeah. Right.
that's what he seemed to that seemed to be what he's picked up on, that they'll do a session at high intensity, but by the next session they've carried that vulnerability in their tissues
Okay.
that it makes them break down in the next session. So if by pulling them back, especially in the last couple of weeks where he's ended most of the high sessions with like bursts of running around
Yeah.
the oval and then goal kicking under fatigue and then running around the oval again and then more goal kicking under fatigue. So he's kind of pulled those guys back a bit from that. So then watching the high risk players a lot, he was very confident in saying that it's really just about teaching the whole group the training standards
Yeah.
required.
Yeah.
And it's about the education, because for many of them, well, at least the ones that came into the club in the last 4 years, they came in and have a base, and that's what they think training
Yeah.
at a high in a high performance setting is, because
Yeah.
that's what they're born with. Um, so the guys like Parish and Merritt and that, like, they would have had someone previous to, I can't quite remember who it was. Was it Justin, the guy before Sean Murphy? I think his name was Justin. Anyway, so they would have had a different perspective. But the guys, in that 21, 22-year old bracket, they've only known one way.
Mm.
So Innes was saying that it's about just changing their habits virtually.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Obviously, when players comment on it, they're not gonna disown and diss the training regimen. But I do really like seeing guys like Archie Roberts come out and really like heap praise on Matt Innes specifically. I don't think that's something that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like that's something that happens regularly around the competition at other clubs. It's usually the coach, it's usually new players. But I feel like this year the big talking point at Essendon has been Matt Innes, and you can kind of see why going out to training, he does have, as the young kids call it, aura about him. He's got
Uh,
that aura, it was great because he you see him out there kind of patrolling the field, and then he comes up to the fans, and he's so happy and just like a nice bloke. It's a nice change, and it's intimidating to an extent to the players, and just time for the fans, which I really love as well. So yeah, he's been the main as an outsider, the main component of training for the Bombers this year, which is obvious, of course, but I think that's a good thing because I don't think you really felt that with Sean Murphy at the club, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, let's take a bit of the gloss off. I think it's obviously what everyone wants to know because our injury crisis this year
Yeah,
was at uncomfortable levels and ridiculous levels, you could say. So I
yes,
think that's going to be the talking point of most of the rhetoric around Essendon moving forward, like the question mark on if the injuries are going to happen again. But what I've loved is that I don't know if your viewers will remember or if you remember, but Darcy Parish in the off season actually actively sought third party external input
yeah,
on what because there was no trust there.
yeah,
And the
mhm,
shift that I feel, and unfortunately, I can't give you any tangible evidence of it because it's a feeling. But the part that I'm loving most is Darcy Parish and Zach Reed, even Kyle Langford, their mental state feels so much lighter because they feel like their bodies are not going to break down at any given point.
yeah,
There's a surrender to the process and a trust that they have in Matt Innes and the team that they now feel really, really confident in. So to
yeah,
see those guys a bit more mentally freed up, uh, that's like, don't underestimate that because when your mind is heavy with fear, that sends a brain to your nervous system. And then your nervous system is like, all right, your wish is my command. Here's a hamstring injury. That's just
yeah,
how it works. That's energy, frequency levels. It's science. So
yeah.
to see,
It's
yeah, mentally looser is nice.
Yeah, and I think if I was to give someone the happiest at training award, aside from Braden Fiorini, who's always running laps with a massive grin on his
Oh,
face, I really noticed a big shift in Darcy Parish, and I saw him come into the cafe with a big smile on his face, talking to fans. He was really positive with his wording. I may have listened in on conversations and peeped. But he just seemed so happy and energized. And that was the big one of the big things I took away from my time at training was Darcy Parish and his energy, which is obviously that has to translate onto the footy field. But it's just fantastic that he is feeling good again, and a big reason for that would be his body. It should also be said, by the way, I think there will be more injuries in 2026. And of course, they're going to be made out to be a big deal, like the preseason ones were. We had a minor hamstring injury and a non-injury, or like a leg knock to Kyle Langford,
yeah.
and it was headline news for some reason. That's just going to happen all year at the club, really, after what happened in 2025. But there are going to be some more injuries, like the players are being pushed. But in the long term, the long term view is what I really like, because this is going to make especially the younger players more durable and robust for the future, which is exactly what we need. We can't have us breaking down every year like we did last year. That just wasn't good enough. Now, what have you, Fiona, noticed as the big focus at training in the preseason? Is it skills? Is it fitness? Is it something else that we're missing? Or what's been the big focus for you that you've seen the club focus on this preseason?
Oh, it's hard to kind of nominate one specific, but
Okay.
I would definitely say fitness.
Yeah.
Fitness has been a huge component, and then tied into that. So I'm cheating, but it's the one. Uh, like after doing high loads of running, then doing skills under that fatigue.
Yeah.
So the fitness, I don't know if you want to put that in the fitness bubble, but I would say the fitness because that's your foundation. You need to be at 110% fitness in order and still be able to hit targets and still be able to make skills and still be able to get to the next contest and the next contest.
Yeah.
So I think the players were at such a low base that that's been the foundation, the priority. It's been, I would say, look, the drills skills are basically what every other club is doing. And I got to see another two clubs training sessions. So the skills are very similar. Everyone is working on fast, quick handball movement, fluid movement, forward movement. Um, but for us, I think, and specifically when Matt Innes mentioned about having them, the purposeful intent of having them run every minute in
Mm.
between drills and then come back and do a drill or have shots for goal. It's really about teaching them their bodies and their minds when they're in fatigue in their minds as well, not just their bodies, how
Yeah.
to still hit targets. And that
Yeah.
has been a huge thing for us because we can't even hit targets when we're not in, when it's no pressure and they haven't run. So how
Yeah.
can we expect to hit targets and make good decisions when we're fatigued? So I think I get the sense that that's the driver for them.
Yeah, and I guess I did see that the skills and the fatigue element of things. How are
Yeah.
the skills looking like in general? How are they looking? Because I've seen them kick the footy after long spurts of running, which is always going to be tough. I haven't seen the best of skills personally myself because of that. But in general, including some of the Wednesday sessions, if you've been to some of the skill based ones,
Yeah.
are they looking all right?
It's a funny one. It's a funny one because there's really no rhyme or reason. There could be some days where their skills are very good. Some days, some Wednesdays where their skills should have been good but weren't. But then on
Mm.
the Friday when they'd done a stack of running in match sim, they were near perfect. So there's no
Right.
rhyme or reason. I'm not too concerned about it, to be quite honest.
Okay.
I don't think they've been amazing. Then again, perfectionist. So I'm looking for perfection, which is
Yeah.
not achievable. I don't think they've been amazing, but I think there's higher things at risk here and higher things on the priority list. Is the energy there? Are they getting through the session without falling over or throwing up? Given that
Yeah.
it's high volumes, high intensity, constant movement. Um, so I'm kind of and the attitude, the general attitude from the
Yeah.
players. Like yesterday at the last session of the year, it was a very hot day in Melbourne. They started the day having them do a circular beep test,
Yeah.
like just insane. I was told some of the kilometers that some of the players did at the AGM last night, and I was just like, wow, what a way to start a session! Like that was hot. Really, they were cooked by the end of it, understandably. And then
Yeah.
they went straight into drills, and the skills were off, were poor.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
there's reasoning for that, perhaps. Do I want to have seen better skills straight after a really highly fatiguing exercise? Yes. But then they went straight into, so then there was no stopping, having a rest, going for water. Then they went straight into a bit of match sim. And the skills were good.
Yeah.
So there's no
Okay.
rhyme or reason, but the point is the energy was good. So in the drills, straight after the beep test, there was a high emphasis on tackling.
Yep.
And there was a couple, specifically Sard and Archer Day Wicks, had a little like, yeah, and I've got footage of it actually. They were
Okay.
really in a wrestle. And then there was Sardis and Sharp who were getting really in each other's
Right. Okay.
faces. And I thought, this is what I want to see. I want to see
Yeah.
this kind of intent, this kind of intensity. I don't care if you just missed that kick as much because you just made an insanely good tackle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I think it should also be said that the first block of preseason training in the old year, the November December period, is always going to be leaning on the side of just getting these guys back to training, getting them running and everything. Once we get into January and February, we are going to see a lot more match sim work. So we're going to see these guys, a lot more tackling and intensity as well. So it's good to hear that they're getting around it early, because I think things are going to really heat up in the next few months when they return to training early in January. Now, before we talk about some individuals, because I've got some questions for you.
mhm.
Um, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about I want to hear about the young players and how they've integrated into training sessions themselves, because obviously five new draftees. Braden Fiorini is new, but not as young, and he looks like he's settled in nicely anyway. How are the young players integrating? Are they participating fully in sessions? Are they maybe off to the side a little bit as they get used to things?
Yeah, they're another one that Innes spoke to me about. He specifically said, and I quote, and I don't think they'll be upset with me quoting him here. He said, some of them might be playing round one. So our job is to get them conditioned enough to be ready to play round one.
Yeah,
So, like to me, we all know, I think we all know, and we'll probably talk about him later. But there is a very good chance that one or two of them play round one. That's the attitude. It's
yeah,
not that they're a bit off it, but there's a good chance that they will. So obviously, Roby has done nothing. He'll often get on the bike or be in the gym, and then he'll wander out with his runners and just walk around the oval. He's formed quite a beautiful bond with Michael Hurley and barely leaves his side. So I've got
yeah.
all the beautiful footage around the ground
I
where
do
Roby's
like
just
that.
always he's just attached himself to Michael Hurley. It's very wholesome.
Yeah,
Um, but in terms of the other three guys, I think the standouts are probably would be, well, in terms of their load, Innes said that they've got them doing one really high intense session a week. So where
Okay.
they'll do 100% of the session at high intensity, high volume, and then the next session they'll bring them down to about a 60% involvement. And then
Yeah.
obviously the Wednesdays, the skills that everybody just does. So they're doing about 1.5, 1 3/4 sessions a week just to ensure that they don't break down coming into their, first preseason. But in terms of I Kondo and Sharp look the most ready.
Okay.
Farrow,
All right.
I think Farrow at the moment to me looks a little bit introverted out there. I
Yeah.
don't think he's quite warmed into the. I don't know that he's quite warmed into being an AFL player. Like somebody, it
Mm.
feels like somebody has to pinch him still. That
Yeah.
he can take up space here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's just quietly going about his business, which is totally fine.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think I was looking out for Contagianis because he's my boy.
yeah,
When I was there, I didn't see him do. I saw. Honestly, he probably didn't have a great session because I'd been hearing so many great things about him. And then I spoke to a few people, and they were like, "Oh, no, that was probably not Contagianis at his best." So he
yeah.
saved it for when I was there, so I can't forgive him for that.
Don't
But
worry, I got some
yeah,
food. I'll send it to you.
okay, yeah, thank you. I'd appreciate that. But yeah, you're right. Farrow is probably I would have expected him to be ahead of where he is now, but I don't think that's an issue. I think this guy is
No.
like the type of player he is. He's not someone that needs to play round one. I think there was a possibility he could have if he came in and excelled straight away, like Contagianis and Sharp
Mm.
have at training. But yeah, I did notice him sitting back a little bit in drills.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen him use his foot skills as much as I would have liked so far, but that'll obviously change in the new break because I think this time last year, and even with Zach Johnson missing his preseason and coming into things, like it can change quickly
Very
through the course
quickly.
of the year. So he might not be performing at his best right now, but we might get to the first session in January and he is one of the best names out there. So things
But
can
even
change.
like even as soon as we could get to, often we'll get to the intra club games or the
Yeah,
practice games, and there'll be one who has done absolutely f all training, all preseason. I barely have a folder for their highlights, and
mm,
they like whoa,
yeah,
like I was talking to Scott from the lunchtime catch up podcast, Scooter, and we were saying like Nick Martin, nobody ever noticed him when he was a train on, and then in the practice games, it was like who is this guy? This guy's a gun. So there's
yeah.
always one or two who will pop up in practice games that they, I don't know, maybe they're just sitting back thinking this is I don't need to be showing my best stuff here at training.
Yeah.
The intra club is and the practice matches is where it's at. So Farrow could be one of those.
Yeah, and I guess, it's very different playing a game with one football in hand to training sessions where you've got 30 footballs pinging around, you're doing lots of running. And Farrow to me is a natural footballer. He's not the natural athlete, he's the natural
Yeah.
footballer. So he might be one
Mm.
that excels with 18 players alongside him, or 17 alongside him, 18 on the other team, playing football.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's get to some questions. I've given you some homework, Fiona.
You
Because
have.
as someone who hasn't been able to get out to many sessions this year, I want to find out who are the names that I should be focusing on in the new year.
Yeah.
I want to be knowing who's going to be in that best 23, who's going to be doing what. So I've given you 6 questions, I think it was,
Mhm.
and hopefully you've got some answers for me. But we're going to get to the bottom
I'm
of
probably going to have to sit on the fence for a couple. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. So
that's all right. It probably gives us more players to talk about anyway.
yeah,
But let's start with a big one. I guess a theme from yesterday with the leadership group being announced. There was obviously the captaincy, the 6 players in the leadership group aside from Andy McGrath. But I want you to tell me who you have noticed driving the standards at training this preseason. So maybe they're the loudest on the track. Maybe they're the players leading by example in drills or with their running. Who have you noticed showing leadership and commitment to the club?
look, I will say there's actually I could name 4 for this question,
Okay.
but because I'm going to try and do better than that, I'm going to narrow it down, and I can narrow it down because from day one to I don't know how many sessions they actually did, but 5 times 3, 15, maybe 20 to day 20, these 2 players were consistently showing leadership qualities and energy of focus and I'm not playing around here. we are putting in the hard work because we want better for ourselves and we have to do better for ourselves. And the two that I'm referring to in that space who have just done it stupendously and have stood out because they've been consistent and they're doing it at such a high level. So if I'm putting it in tiers, they're at the top. Then there's a couple who have been pretty good,
Okay.
do it a bit, but not as much. So
Okay.
these two stand out because they've at a really high level.
Yeah.
And the two I'm referring to is Braden Fiorini and Mason Redmond.
Awesome.
So I mean, Braden Fiorini, I can't speak highly enough of him. It is from the first session on his first day, first training session, he was already talking to Zach Johnson, talking to Archie Roberts. You go there, have you done this? And you should do this, and in the most natural, organic way that just makes you want to, say, tell me more. What can I do more? It was. You want more of him. You actually crave it because he's got a nurturing energy, but also a very get down to work, put your head down. We're in this together, and he just wants to help. He wants to get the best out of his teammates. He's been vocal, but as you noticed, he's always got a smile on his face as well because he's just loving being a part of it. I already feel like he's desperate to play for the jumper, and that's impossible because he's been here 3 months, but you already get that sense.
No, you do. Yeah.
Him. It's just an organic thing for him. And the reason why I'm impressed with Mason Redmond is because I thought he really fell down in that area this year and probably last year in terms of his leadership on the field and off. I thought it was well below what we can expect and should expect for him.
Yep.
So I want to pump him up because he's been really good too. And in a lot of the footage, and that's how I know these two are at the top of the table for this question, because in all of my footage, it's their voices in the footage.
Yeah.
Encouraging the players, directing the players. So no surprise to see them both in the leadership group.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to Fiorini's leadership, the fact that he's been at the club for 2 months, barely any time, and he's already an official leader with an official leadership in an official leadership capacity. I think for Redmond, it's the silver lining out of the Zach Merritt situation, as bad a situation as it is that there were going to be some leaders, forced to step up. And as soon as that saga unfolded, you had Mason Redmond talking to the media. He was always going to be one of the guys that felt that responsibility and hopefully lifted to that responsibility. And it does seem like he is so far. You're right; he is one of the loudest voices out there. It's also no surprise that his son Angus Clark is one of the loudest voices out there as well. That's his mentor, someone he's been bringing up in the footy space, who's we love already so much. And he's taking after his father, and he is just so chirpy out there, and that's something that is slept on a bit with leadership. You even had it at the AGM last night. I think someone spoke about Sam Durham talking about how he'd be lost if it wasn't for Andy McGrath. It's those mentor roles, players like Durham, Clark, that we absolutely love at the club and who are just gems of players to have around the club, would only be who they are because of the players that have guided them along the way. And those players are often, you hear players talk about Andy McGrath and Mason Redmond. I'm sure Braden Fiorini will be in that mix too.
Yeah, and it's so funny, but I think with Mason Redmond, I think he got a bit numb there for a while because even in his football, it was like he was just going through the motions.
Yeah,
and
it did feel like
he got
that.
a bit just physically and mentally numb.
Yeah.
And then this Zach Merritt thing happened and he took it personally. There's no doubt about it. He took that personally. That was not a forced media script that he did. The club did not have to force him to do that. He did it. And I think that woke him from the slumber.
Yep.
It kind of snapped him out of the numbness. It defrosted him. And he's kind of like, hey, fuck. Maybe he's thinking, I don't have that much football left in me. I'm one of the oldest now.
Yeah.
Like I want to see, seize the day type of thing. And I think as we all know, when you get shaken, when the universe tests you, if evolution requires discomfort, that's sometimes how you grow. And I think this has been the best thing for Mason Redmond because not only is he very good with his voice out there, but he's got the angry juices. Like he's frowning a shit ton, but in a good way.
Yeah, I want to see more of angry Mason Redmond in 2026 because that's the getting into little scuffles in preseason Mason Redmond. That's what we need to see.
Yeah.
Also in 2026, we need to see some shaping around and shifting around the club in terms of personnel. Who could you see playing a new role in 2026?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with what I've spoken about in the past. I'm going to say Elijah Sardis. Now, I don't know if your viewers are aware, but we got some insight in terms of when he was sent away on his off season. That we all know where he's at with his football. Hasn't been able to force his way into the team. He also got injured in and out of the VFL. It's safe to say he hasn't quite hit his strides and
Yeah,
where we want him to be. So the club kind of sensed, and the new strength and conditioning team sensed that he was at a bit of a crossroads, not only with the type of players that we'd recruited around him, but then drafted. So they kind of sensed that they needed to give him a bit of a challenge, a bit of a task, something else to focus his energies on rather than go be a good inside midfielder and work on your kicking because everybody says you're bad at it.
yeah,
So they wanted to free him up mentally and give him a specific task, like they've done with every player, a specific clear pathway of where they need to get to. And with Elijah, they said to him, "Look, Josh Dunkley, familiarize yourself with Josh Dunkley,
mm,
pretty much." And like I don't think that needs any explanation. Josh Dunkley is exceptional at going where the team needs, when the team needs. If the team needs him to lock down an opposition best mid, that's what he does.
yeah,
If the team need him to contribute on the scoreboard or move forward or deliver amazing balls inside 50, that's what he does. So he's both offensively and defensively so incredibly sound. He's not the most polished, skillful player, but what he does is make up for it by an all round contribution in
yeah,
terms of his game. So they pretty much challenged Lish to go and do that. And so what he's done to kind of set himself up to achieve and to be successful in this role is he needed to kind of his endurance, his running needed a glow up.
yeah,
So he is very obviously trimmed down in the torso. He's still got really strong, powerful quads, very strong,
yeah,
and glutes, but he's trimmed down in the upper body a lot. And that is obviously because he's done a high running load. So part of his program would have been lots of running. And now
yeah,
what that's done, similarly with Darcy Parish, that has freed him up so mentally because no longer is he fixated and has a complex about his kicking. All of a sudden, and yesterday at training, he had the strongest day I've seen him. He barely missed the target because he's not
okay,
thinking about it in the moment. He's not thinking, oh, I don't do well. And so, and his mind's not going at a million miles an hour, which then is tensing up his body, which then tenses up his leg. His body knows how to kick the ball.
yeah,
His body is an athlete. So his body now remembers that it's an athlete. And now he's focusing on what he can control, his effort, his intent, I tell you what, his intensity and his aggression to get in even scuffles with Durham and Caldwell and
yeah,
Sharp was so fun to watch yesterday. So big
okay,
watch on him. I think he could. I'm rooting for him. I hope he can be that guy who we can bring in. We obviously have Setterfield, who was very good in that role, but Setters probably wasn't as prolific offensively. He didn't offer us many goals on the offense side of
no,
things.
yeah,
And you probably can't carry a player who can just shut down on the best opposition mid. You need someone who can offer you both.
mm,
And no doubt they want Lige to be that guy.
okay, yeah, interesting. I think well, he should be spending a bit of time around Setterfield there to improve his defensive
Yes.
game while he's at the club as well. And I have noticed it's preseason with little to no actual game or match sim. There is match sim, but match sim with actual pressure behind you with a crowd behind you. But I have
Mm.
noticed his kicking is punchier, which is good because
Yeah.
he's definitely in the past been a bit of an up and under type kick.
What
Um,
was it? Did you see great faults with, because this is probably not my um specialization, but did you see great faults with his technique? Like when you watch his actual kicking technique, is that where he's going wrong, or is he just getting in his head in the moment about it? Or is there something tangible that he needed to fix?
I thought once or twice that the timing between his ball drop and leg action was probably causing him to to kick under the footy, and maybe that can be a midfielder, who's so used to, because in his draft year, he was a completely different player. He was a really exciting, fast moving, explosive stoppage midfielder. He'd get the ball and run out of a pack and kick. And the kicking was probably something that he could have improved a bit because yeah, again, it was like his legs were moving so fast and his movement was so quick that he would do the same with his kicking. But no, it,
Mm,
it does feel like because obviously he doesn't really, it doesn't look like he's got that natural explosive instinct anymore, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if he can work on other things in his game like he's trying to do. But it does look like his kicking is becoming a bit more reliable because of that now. Because I wouldn't have
yeah.
said he was a reliable kick when he was that explosive midfielder, but
Mm,
now, albeit from a small sample size, he does look like just a better, safer kick. Because it was sometimes even like 15 to 20 meter passes after an uncontested mark that he was missing.
yeah.
And now he does look like he can just hit those targets like a Jacob Farrow does with ease. You know how Jacob Farrow can kind of or even a um even like a Zach Merritt can kind of kick without thinking. You're
Yeah.
right. It does feel like there is less thought behind his kicking, which sounds like it shouldn't be a positive, but it is because he's actually hitting targets through it now. But yeah, good shout with Elijah Sardis, and you do want to see him, try and break into that best 23 while we've got that midfield depth because it would really create good headaches for Brad Scott and the game plan.
Selection.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
selection committee. Thank you. Yeah.
And what a weapon to have as well, to have a Josh Dunkley type to be able to
Oh yeah.
lock down and be so strong on opposition. So I think the club are handling it beautifully. This is his moment.
Yeah.
He competes and he forces his spot and he's got lots of competition, or we look to move him on, I guess, at the end of
Yeah.
next season.
Yeah. All right, Fiona, who's winding back the clock? Who's an older player, a senior player who we haven't seen the best of lately, but are starting to give you a bit of hope for 2026?
Oh, this is a question fraught with danger, isn't it? But I'm putting it out there. Everyone's going to stay fit this year. Look, no secret. I'm a big 2 meter Peter, 2 meter Peter fan. It's remarkable the running that this guy is able to do. It shouldn't come as a surprise because I'm notoriously told, and I can see it, that he is so diligent with how he keeps himself and the training. But he's running like a midfielder.
Mm.
He's keeping up like a midfielder. He was the last of the big guys to drop out of the beep test yesterday. And I'm not talking like 17th, 18th. I'm talking like 7th to
Mm.
drop out from all the guys. So he's just running so strongly. He's so fit. I could have put him up for the who's showing the best leadership so far because
Okay.
he also is very good with his voice. I've got so much footage of him pointing, and particularly with Max Kondagianis early, he was really good with him.
Right.
But also now with May and McMahon, it's been very obvious that he's there to direct, and he looks very focused and also a bit Mason Redmond angry as well too,
Yep.
which is great. So if we can, he probably didn't have a shocking year because we know he did a lot of ruck work. But I think if we can get him, I think he kicked 21 goals, I think, in the end. I think if he can get back to upping that by at least, 15 more goals, if he's doing part-time ruck work as well, I think that'll just help the team and help, whoever's the other forwards down there as well. So I think he's certainly looking like he could play another 5 years as well. He
Okay.
he just looks so fit. He looks so fit, and so look, we're playing against each other as well. They have to take that in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So his opposition maybe not as Harris Andrews quality, but right now you can only judge on what you see. So he's
Yeah.
looking sensational.
Yeah, I loved watching him go up against Ben Mackay. That was a
Yeah,
really fun. That was probably what caught my eye the most. What I was watching the most at training was just those two going at it because, Wright would win one contest, Mackay
yeah,
would win another in a big way. They were both looking really good. And I think you could actually have both of them down here from what I've seen,
yeah,
as well. Ben Mackay's been looking good and fit. So our big
yeah.
men running around is good to see, especially for Wright, who will need to play a fair bit of ruck if you look at our ruck stocks without Sam Draper. We'll go kind of an opposite theme here. We'll go from old to new. Who's your debutant prediction? Who's the next debutant for the Essendon Football Club?
I mean, we all know who's
Yeah.
who's going to be. This is the 100% Dyson Sharp. Uh, it's I mean, you just watch and it just brings a smile to your face because it's like he's like a fish in water. It's like he's been out there for three pre-seasons already.
Mm.
He pushed himself really hard in the beep test yesterday. He's
Okay.
poor thing, he was buggered, but he's taken on a big load this pre-season and doesn't look like he's struggled, doesn't look like he's out of place. What I love that the club are doing, particularly the coaches, is they're just giving him such an all-round induction. So I've got footage of him lined up on Durham, lined up on Corwell, lined up on Sardis, lined up on Dersma, lined up on uh, Darcy Parish. So he's getting taste of and lined up on merit. So I've
Mm.
got like he's getting the most incredible apprenticeship ever. He's getting a taste of what it takes every type of midfielder type situation. At stoppage, they've got him right in the centre at stoppage. They've got him in and around the ball, which is where he's best, and he does not look out of place, especially with his body work. No one can shift him,
Yeah.
literally.
He's not 18, is he?
No,
He just isn't. Like
no.
I'm scared for the day where they find his birth certificate and but no, he does look good and without saying too much, I think we both like you can tell that the club really like him as well. I think he's going to be someone who plays regularly, hopefully throughout the years for the Bombers because he does just look like he belongs at AFL level, and that was the case last year. This year in his draft year, like he looked like he was just waiting to play AFL footy. You know, he didn't want to be playing Sandford and alongside 18s for
Do you
much
think
longer.
do you think it's because he actually played against like hardened footballers and hardened men that's given him that advantage, or do you think it was always coming for him because he's just so dedicated and such a competitor?
Both. I mean, this guy was playing Sandford footy last year. So he as a
That's
17,
insane.
16-year-old and I think he played a few pretty good games as well. So he's been ready physically for a while. And that was the hard thing to judge because in the 18s he just looked like a level above everyone else. And yes, that could be someone who's just an amazing footballer, but could also be someone who's just ready for AFL while others aren't. And that was
Yeah.
the tough thing to judge with Dyson Sharp. But his Sandford footy was often really good. I wouldn't expect the absolute world from him, by the way. I wouldn't expect
Yeah.
him to be dominating in the midfield straight away. He is still a kid, and he has to learn about just playing in front of big crowds because he's never played in front of a 70, 80, 90,000 crowd before, and that's going to be a lot. But he's
That's
got
gonna be
the
round one.
yeah, but he's got the mental toughness, I think, to last games, last seasons, and that's what's going to hold him in good stead going forward.
So whose spot would he take? If he has forced Brad Scott's hand to pick him for round one in that midfielder, and everybody's fit and available, just putting you on the spot here,
Mm.
whose spot does he take?
It's really interesting because I don't think we have a good idea of what the club is thinking. I think
Yeah.
there was a comment made in passing by someone at the club about what the starting midfield could look like, and I went, "Oh, really? That's what you think it'll look like?" And maybe that was just them throwing names around. But the way I see it, I think because of the nature of his game, it would be really hard to have him, Parrish, and Sardis in the same team. I think you could have
Yeah.
two,
Mhm.
but those types of players, if you have them all, you've got a pretty one-dimensional midfield, unfortunately. And I also don't think Sharp is someone who should come in and play up forward straight away. I think he is a natural midfielder. I want him to be playing midfield as much as possible. And if he's not playing AFL midfield minutes at all, if he's just playing as a pure forward, I'd probably rather him playing in the guts in the VFL to continue his craft because this is you wouldn't want Joe Watson playing in a forward pocket or something like that. This is a Joe Watson type player where he's just a natural ball winning midfielder. But yeah, I think Parrish, Sardis, Setterfield, those types of players you can't have in the same team as Sharp, I don't think.
And the temptation is there to put him at half forward to take because Archie Perkins is so far off it. Well, he's still shuffling. He's not
Mm,
even up to like serious jogging.
yeah.
So they, I can only imagine that Archie Perkins is their first choice half forward pick. So the
Mm.
temptation would be there to put Sharp there.
Yeah, and but with more midfield time, I think Perkins's forward midfield split is probably like 80-20, 90-10 or something like that
Yeah,
with
but I'm
the high
saying to
number
get into
forward.
the team.
Yeah.
to get him in just in the team, they would be tempted just to say, "Oh, play majority half forward with stints in the
Yep.
midfield." And I'm saying I agree with you. Like I think if he
Oh, I see
comes
what you mean.
in, you want him to just play in the midfield with stints there.
Yeah, I'd want him to be 80-20 the other way. I'd want him to
Yes.
be
Yeah.
yeah, a full-time midfielder because that is what he is. And
Yeah.
now
Got it.
speaking of round one, who's your fringe player? So maybe a player on the outskirts, a little bit more, not talked about as much at the club that you could see bolting into first team contention early in the season.
This was a tough question
It is a
to
tough question, yeah.
it was a tough question to answer, and I did think about it. And the one that I've thought I I hold Isaac Kako and what he did this year in such high esteem, and then watching him at training over this period, I just my my admiration for him has gone through the roof because he's not sitting back there saying, "Oh, a big load was left to me. I was the main pressure guy. I was doing everything down there." He's not sitting back and saying that. He's totally embraced that he's the only small forward really of any
Yeah.
quality we have down there, and he just gets to work. But it does significantly, continually make me worried about the speed of our team. I'm loving the grunt and the energy and the intensity, but I still feel like we are a little bit too slow, particularly in the forward line.
Mhm.
And so I wouldn't be sleeping on Reece Unwin quietly.
Okay. Okay.
He's one that he's not he's not blowing you away 55 times in a training session or probably on game day. But when he bobs up, he's he's a bit like Waller in that low center of gravity, and he'll probably be the same with his
Mm.
with his output. Sorry, yeah, his speed, you blink.
Yeah.
His speed and agility is something pretty special, and I think I don't know that you can fit him just because of that, but I think for balance, for team balance, I think there was one play where he made this is yesterday, and Dean Solomon. I've never seen Dean Solomon so happy. He was about to do a star jump, a backward flip. He went over to Unwin and he grabbed him by the jumper and went, "That was fucking great!" Like he really because Reece Unwin just made two incredible defensive tackle efforts
Okay, right.
in a row, and it was like the sun was pouring down. It was 2 hours into the
Yeah.
session, and then he just zigzagged like he's basically on the ground, like the low center of gravity on an angle is quite amazing. And then he got himself out of trouble. So I
Mm.
don't know. I think they really like what he brings to the team.
Yeah, I can see that, and he was someone that we really wanted to draft earlier than we did as well. We had plans to take him when we took that traded away that St Kilda pick.
Yeah,
Agility wise, he'd be right up there, best at the club.
yeah,
His sidestep is crazy. It's like you can't even catch it watching it, you know.
yeah,
So think about how hard it would be to tackle him on the field. How's he
yeah.
looking size wise? I didn't get a good look at him at the last training, but has he put on any more muscle?
Yeah, he's definitely broader in the shoulders.
Okay.
Absolutely. He's probably still quite a light frame in his
Yeah.
lower body, but that's probably where he gets that. Like, if you add
Yeah.
too much to that, he loses a bit of that
Yeah.
sidestep agility, and you don't want to take that from him. But he looks a bit more, much more prepared to take on a tackle,
Okay. That's good.
and a bit stronger to actually make a tackle as well, which is what I saw yesterday, which was really pleasing. So,
Mm.
my only thing is like, can he be pigeonholed as a small forward? That would be my only question.
Yeah, it's because I like him as a linking type player because I think he's
Yeah,
really good around traffic and really like solid with ball in hand.
yeah,
I think when I think of Reece Unwin, I think of a because he played midfield as a draft in his draft year, but I think of a like someone not kicking for goal, but setting up goals. So I think could you have Kako is a the stay at home forward, or would you rather him up as a presence? But no, I see what you mean. I think Unwin has a bit to him as that just linking type player or just a footballer in general. Again, he's got the agility, but I'd still put him in the football bracket of things because that
mm,
agility is kind of also he's not just an agile player, he's a really smart and crafty player as well with ball in hand. I do think there's a bit to Reece Unwin, and you saw that last year when he played in some of those games. You know, it was moments, like you say, in training. It's a
Yeah,
moment here or there where he just sidesteps 300 people and
yeah.
comes out with the footy, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Exactly. And I just think in the context of, is he offering us more than a Matt Guelphy? Is he offering us more than a Jade Gresham? I guess you weigh it up. That's how I kind of am looking at it. But
Yeah,
yeah, because we have an array of midfielders and luckily now an array of wingers who they like, being Fiorini, Dursma, Clark, and Sard, all who have been training a lot with the midfield group. So that seems to be there, and not much with the defenders at all.
mm,
That seems to be the lock for the rotation on the wing. It's kind of hard to see him pigeonholed as that small forward, but I just
yeah,
think like speed down there, and if he's offering more than what a Jay Gresham or a Matt Guelphy is, then perhaps it's worth it.
yeah. No, good shout, good shout. I like it.
Yeah.
Now finally, the question on everyone's mind.
Oh no.
Who is the preseason MVP? Who's been tearing it up on the track this year so far?
Yeah. Look, I think I'm going to give this to, and it makes me happy to give it to him, like giddy to give it to him because he deserves it. Isaac Kako, just absolutely exceptional,
Mm,
exceptional in every way, from his attitude to his intensity. Sometimes I made a comment in a reel I posted about Jaden Ewan that sometimes I think he forgets it's just training because
yeah,
he's actually tackling his teammates to hurt. And I
yeah,
think that's not really December kind of training. And Isaac Kako's a bit the same. Sometimes I think he's actually forgetting that he's at training and he's just so focused. He has this he has this beautiful, impressive ability to do something incredibly magical, a sidestep, a tackle, and then a swoop of the ball. But
yeah,
then he has the clarity in his mind to then size up the situation, see a good decision, and then execute it.
yeah,
And not all players. We have a couple of players who, and I won't name them, but they do something really magical and really like, and then it's just that next bit of polish that lets it down and they'll turn
yeah,
the ball over. Isaac Kako is not that at all. He does the magic with the polish.
yeah,
And I could not feel more lucky to have this guy. He is not talked up enough. He is insanely good, and he needs to push up high up the ground and not just
yeah,
be passing holders that small forward because he's dangerous. He sees things. He's a bit like Zach Reed. He sees uh, a play before it's come into the 3D.
mm,
So he knows exactly what's going to happen before it has eventuated, and has the skills and the decision making to go with it. He's so selfless. He's always looking to bring a teammate into the conversation. And
yeah,
by conversation, I mean the play.
yeah,
Is shepherding, looking to shepherd all the time. Um, yeah, he's aware of his opponent, so defensively very sound. I can't speak highly of him. I know it's December, so I'm going to calm
yeah,
down
yeah.
now, but seriously excited, Felix.
No, I get you, and it's I think what it is confidence because this guy he came into the AFL setup, played round one, showed great signs. That goal against Hawthorn was
Yeah,
awesome, and that was the case for a lot of the early parts of the year. But as the year unfolded and all the injuries and everything occurred, he he looked so reliable in the team. I actually thought he had a fantastic year,
brilliant.
despite not being in rising star calculations or not kicking too many goals. He got better as the year went along. He really, you could tell he found his place in the team, and I mean, he must know that he is the main small forward already at 19 years old, which is crazy. But it means he can only get better, and you know, with more confidence, can get better on top of improvement from growth. So I think Kako, yeah, you're right. He does just look like a it's think about how fun it's going to be watching him and Caddy if they can get lots of games under the belt
Oh,
together. It's a really fun. It's obviously at the moment it's not a great forward line, but you can see how in a few years it can be a really exciting one, not just for the Bomber fans, but for the competition as a whole.
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah,
the thing I also loved about his year is that when he's a first year player, he'd played every game.
yeah,
So when you expect a first year player to start tapering off and getting tired and running a bit less, covering a bit more meters, they push him into the midfield one of the
Yeah.
harder, more high intense positions there is, and he excels.
Yeah.
So he clearly is very diligent about his fitness, about his rehab, about his not rehab, his recovery. Like, what kind of first year player, having played every year, can you say so confidently about?
Mm.
So, and yeah,
Yeah.
the chemistry between Caddy and Kako at training, and also now with Kako and Huss,
Oh,
they
yeah. Yep.
it's building beautifully. I've got a couple of bits of footage where they do a couple of 1-2s or help each other out, and it's, yeah, very wholesome, and I think
And
something to look forward to.
a bit off topic, but could you see Huss being involved in that forward line along with the other two?
He's been pretty quiet for mine up
Okay.
until yesterday, where I saw him. This it was probably one of his strengths, tackling, wasn't it, and defensive pressure, because he was it.
Not really, but
Okay,
with draftees, it's the small forwards. It's never really a strength at that age. Like say,
okay,
Kako's big weakness was his defensive pressure.
right, okay. So with Huss yesterday, his tackling was intense,
Okay.
very intense, very strong. One of the was doing the tackling skills probably one of the best, along
Okay.
with Jaden UN, who forgets its training and is
Yeah.
tackling to hurt his teammates. So Hussein was very very up there with the intensity department for the tackles. So yeah, I think he's probably looks a little off it. So it
Okay.
wouldn't be a round one start for me.
Yeah.
He's still missing a couple of goals he needs to get, and that's at training. So just need him to. Obviously, we know he kicked 20 for the year, but had almost double, triple those shots, didn't he?
Yeah. He does kick quite a few points. Yeah. That is
Yeah,
that is correct. Yeah.
yeah. So you just want to see him shore up a bit more in that department, and obviously his fitness is at quite the low base,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's quite understandable as well. So,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah. All right. Well, Fiona, that is all. Fantastic work. You are the expert track watcher,
oh,
and I'll have to get you back on the channel for 2026 so we can go through this again. I might actually recycle the same questions and see how they change. Of course, if you're willing to join me. Um,
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and we'll see if there's anybody who's jumped the pack or if it's
Yeah.
stayed pretty consistent. So I'll be looking really closely at a few, especially the questions that you say, because that you asked, because they're the main ones. Really, you want to see who's culturally leading the pack, who's looking like they're a round one first name on the whiteboard
Mm,
um, guy, and all the other questions as well. So hopefully we see a few more players. The intensity is going to go up. As you know, when we had that meeting at the hangar, the intention is to train above
yeah.
game level intensity, so
Yeah.
that when they actually train, when they actually play, their bodies feel like they've been here before. So it's
Yeah.
not a shock to the body.
Yeah.
So come January, that's how they're going to start training.
Yeah, and I think the fans will be very happy to hear that because it is genuinely, it's looking good out there. I've only been there a few times. I think it's looking good. You've been there a lot longer than me, and you've been very impressed with what you've seen. So I think fans should know that the boys are genuinely getting to work, which is, of course, it's one part of it. You know, there's games and everything to come, but the good news is,
Yeah.
as of right now, they're doing everything they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Who knows if that's going to translate when a crowd's there, when
yeah,
opposition
exactly.
is there. We
Young
don't
team.
know. We can only tell you what's happening right now. And
Yeah.
that's a vast improvement to previous Essendons. So
Yeah, fantastic. I think this preseason and future preseasons will hold them in good stead going forward, and that's the main thing for me for this
yeah.
young team. But thank you, Fiona. I really do appreciate it. I'll hopefully see you again. Hopefully, you get some rest now that the preseason's done for a few weeks. You don't have to get there out at the hangar in the heat anymore. Uh,
Yeah, a few bouts of heat stroke.
yeah,
But
kick up
that's
the
okay.
feet.
I've hydrated since, so Melbourne sun is very hot. Australian sun, I should say. But
Yeah,
no, I'll have a bit of a break now and get back out there when they start on the 8th of Jan.
awesome. Yeah, but that is all. Thank you so much again. Thank you to you
Pleasure.
guys watching the channel. Fiona will be back. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, do you want to say it? Do you want to give out the Go Bombers, Fiona?
Oh no, I can't. That's a
Okay.
you thing.
All right. Go Bombers.
Go Duns.